Imagine a world where everything you need, from energy to food, materializes with a thought. A world free from scarcity, hunger, or environmental decay. Sounds like a utopian fantasy, right? But what if I told you that the secret to infinite resources, a technology so profound it could redefine human existence, might not only be possible, but could have been deliberately suppressed, hidden away from the public eye for decades? What if the true reason we don't live in this abundant future isn't a lack of scientific breakthroughs, but something far more sinister? To understand this deep, unsettling possibility, we need to rewind to the dawn of the 20th century. Here we find one of history's most brilliant, yet ultimately tragic figures, Nikola Tesla. While today he's largely celebrated for his contributions to alternating current, Tesla's true vision stretched far beyond simply powering our homes. He dreamed of a world of boundless, free energy, drawn directly from the Earth itself, transmitted wirelessly across continents. This wasn't science fiction to him. It was a solvable engineering problem. His ambitious project, the Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island, stood as a physical embodiment of this dream. Imagine the implications. No more power lines, no more fossil fuels, no more energy bills. A true revolution. He envisioned powering everything from factories to individual homes, even communicating across oceans without wires. The scale of this ambition was staggering, almost godlike in its scope. He reportedly stated, "Ere many generations pass, our machinery will be driven by power obtainable at any point in the universe." A bold claim, undoubtedly, but the financing for Wardenclyffe, largely provided by J.P. Morgan, dried up abruptly. Morgan, a titan of industry, famously asked Tesla, "Where can I put a meter on that?" The question perfectly encapsulated the conflict. How do you monetize something that's free, that's available to everyone without cost? This was the first and perhaps most significant roadblock to infinite resources, the economic model built on scarcity. With funding gone, Wardenclyffe was dismantled, its grand vision relegated to a curious footnote in history, a tantalizing glimpse of a future that never arrived, or rather, was never allowed to arrive. Was Morgan simply a short-sighted investor, or did he, and others like him, grasp the terrifying implications a world of free energy would have on their carefully constructed empires? The question looms large, a shadow over the promise of technological liberation. But Tesla wasn't the only one. Throughout history, whispers of over-soonity devices and unconventional energy sources have persisted, often met with derision, skepticism, or something far worse. Consider John Keeley, a peculiar 19th century inventor who claimed to have harnessed a form of vibratory etheric energy capable of operating machinery solely through sound frequencies. His demonstrations, though often enigmatic, captivated investors and even scientists of his time. He built engines that supposedly ran without fuel, generating immense power from what he called molecular vibrations. Skeptics dismissed him as a charlatan, his devices as clever hoaxes. Yet the fervent belief of his followers and the persistent lack of a definitive debunking left a lingering question. What if there was something to it? What if his unconventional approach truly tapped into an unknown energetic principle? Then there was Victor Schauberger, an Austrian forester and natural scientist of the early 20th century, whose insights into natural energies were equally radical. He observed the vortex dynamics in rivers and believed he could replicate these processes to create engines that drew energy from water and air without conventional fuel. His implosion machines were said to be quiet, efficient, and capable of generating power and even levitation by mimicking nature's own processes. He spoke of free energy being inherent in natural flows, waiting to be intelligently harnessed. His work, too, was largely dismissed by the scientific establishment, deemed unscientific and impossible. But Schauberger himself often spoke of the dangers of misusing such power, fearing that industrial exploitation would only further damage the planet, hinting at an awareness of the profound responsibility that comes with unlimited energy. Was Schauberger truly an unsung genius whose work could have saved us from ecological disaster? Or was he merely a mystic whose ideas were too far ahead of their time? or perhaps too threatening to vested interests. The pattern is unnerving. Brilliant, often eccentric inventors, claiming access to boundless energy, facing a seemingly insurmountable wall of financial disinterest, scientific dismissal, or outright sabotage. It paints a picture, whether intentional or not, of a system highly resistant to fundamental change, especially change that could undermine existing power structures. Each story, each abandoned patent, each silenced voice adds another layer to the enigma, creating a subtle but undeniable sense of something being deliberately withheld, something bigger than individual inventors or isolated discoveries. Fast forward to more recent times, and the narrative only becomes more chilling, more defined by unexplained events and tragic ends. The late 20th century saw a resurgence of individuals claiming to have cracked the code of free energy or oversoonity. One of the most famous, or infamous, depending on your perspective, was Stanley Meyer. In the mid-1980s, Meyer claimed to have developed a water fuel cell that could split water into hydrogen and oxygen with dramatically less energy than conventionally required, effectively allowing a car to run on water as its primary fuel source. He made headlines, demonstrated his dune buggy running on water, and even secured patents for his process. The implications were monumental: an end to reliance on fossil fuels, a revolution in transportation, and a future free from energy scarcity. Energy independence for every nation, for every household. But for all his claims and demonstrations, Meyer's technology was never independently verified or widely adopted. He faced lawsuits, accusations of fraud, and relentless skepticism from the scientific community. Then in 1998, Stanley Meyer died under mysterious circumstances. During a meal at a restaurant, he reportedly cried out, "They poisoned me," before collapsing and dying. Officially, his death was ruled an aneurysm, but the timing, the dramatic pronouncement, and the nature of his work fueled endless speculation. Was he truly poisoned to silence his world-changing invention? Or was it simply a tragic coincidence amplified by the controversy surrounding his work? The questions linger, a dark shadow over the promise of his invention. Following Meyer, many other independent inventors have emerged, often operating in the fringes, claiming similar breakthroughs in cold fusion, zero-point energy, or magnetic motors that produce more energy than they consume. Many have faced similar hurdles: lack of funding, scientific dismissal, legal challenges, and in some more extreme cases, unexplained accidents or deaths. While it's crucial to acknowledge the difficulty in separating genuine breakthroughs from well-intentioned but flawed experiments and outright hoaxes, the sheer volume of these stories and the consistent pattern of obstruction become increasingly hard to ignore. Is it simply a case of scientific rigor weeding out unsound ideas? Or is there a more calculated, more insidious force at play? The consistent pattern of promised unlimited energy, followed by suppression and sometimes tragedy, forms a compelling, if disturbing, hypothesis that infinite resources are not just a utopian dream, but a deeply feared reality by those who profit from scarcity. The idea that a vast, powerful network might actively work to prevent such innovations from reaching the public, not out of malice, but out of a desperate need to maintain control over global economies and geopolitical power, is a frightening prospect. It suggests that the greatest obstacle to a world of abundance isn't scientific impossibility, but human self-interest, an almost primal resistance to change that threatens the very foundations of power. To this day, the dream of infinite resources remains just that, a dream for the vast majority of humanity. The tantalizing glimpse offered by visionaries like Tesla, the unconventional theories of Schauberger, and the tragic fate of inventors like Meyer leave us with a profound, unsettling question. If true free energy technology exists, or is even close to existing, what does its continued suppression say about us as a species? Are we truly ready for a world without scarcity, a world where the very concepts of economic competition, resource wars, and even conventional labor might become obsolete? The implications are staggering, potentially leading to unprecedented prosperity and freedom, but also to a complete societal upheaval that could dismantle established power structures in ways we can barely imagine. Perhaps the truth behind infinite resources isn't just a technical problem, but a deeply philosophical one. Maybe the current system, with its reliance on limited resources and controlled energy, serves a purpose, perhaps even an unintentional one, in maintaining a certain order, however imperfect. And perhaps the true reason we don't live in that abundant future isn't simply because the technology is impossible or because a shadowy cabal actively suppresses it, but because humanity itself, or at least its dominant institutions, is simply not ready for the profound, transformative power of true liberation.